So the second part of lesson 6.3 is about how you find errors. And I wanted to spend a little more time on this, which is why I made it its own PowerPoint, because I think it's really important to go over how to find errors easily. So there's several different kinds of errors that you can make. Three examples are there might be errors in the accounting records, there might be errors in calculations, and you may have just entered something in a wrong column. So the most common errors, the first one is if the difference between the two columns that are supposed to equal, if the difference between them is 1, such as a penny, 10 cents, a dollar, $10, $100, $1,000, something like that, the error is most likely addition. And so start by just re-adding the columns and making sure that you got them right. And that's usually going to be the error when that's the difference. If the difference can be divided evenly by 2. So for instance, look for an amount like 48. 48 can be divided evenly by 2, which is 24. So look for an amount equal to that difference. So you would look for an amount equal to 24 somewhere and see if you extended it into the wrong column. Because if you'd put an amount of 24 in a debit column when it was supposed to be in a credit column, then it would make you off by 48. And so that's what you would do if you can divide it evenly by 2. And sometimes that error isn't in the worksheet. You may have to go back to the ledger to find it. The third typical error is when the difference can be divided by 9. And so when I say the difference, I mean when you have two columns, a debit column and a credit column that are supposed to equal, and they don't. This is the errors we're looking for. So if it can be divided by 9, it's probably transposed numbers, meaning that it was supposed to be like 54 and you wrote it as 45, or it was supposed to be 92 and you wrote it as 29. Those are transposed numbers. Another error when it can be divided by 9 could be what they call a slide error. And that's where you either add or take off a 0 usually. So the example I have here, the amount you recorded an amount for $350 when it was supposed to be $3,500 or only 35. You either added a 0 or took a 0 off. That's what they call a slide error. That also would result in a difference that can be divided evenly by 9. And then the last one is if you just completely forget to put an amount in there, that would be probably the first thing you do. What's the difference? Look for an amount there, see if you left it off. And then work through the other 3 types of errors. The best way to prevent errors is to just work really carefully as you're going along and double check yourself as you go along. And most errors are in calculations, which is why I love to use spreadsheets, because spreadsheets don't mess up the calculations if you do the formulas right. So that's how you find errors when you're working with worksheets and ledgers and everything else.